Welcome to another coffee break. We have found, or I found, new technology in my video editing software, and so now I'm using this, and you can actually see my face, and I'm not like a little, little picture in the middle of the corner. So let's see how this works. Let me know if you think it's not as good of an option as the Zoom I've been using, but I kind of like it. Okay, so we're here with another coffee break. It's 5 things you should know. We go through 5 things about a certain topic. And today we're going to talk about 401k best practices. And the reason that we're talking about that this time is that we are in the fourth quarter of the year. And I bet that some of you have not looked at your 401k all year. And this is a good time to do that because you only have a couple more months to make some changes that will be reflected in your 2023 taxes, your statements, your investing, all that stuff. So it's worth taking a look at that. And so I'm going to suggest that you do these 5 things that we talked about once a quarter. Just take an hour. It's not even an hour, like a half an hour, to just take a look at your 401k and go through these 5 little checklist items just to make sure that you're being an active player in your 401k. All right. So what is Coffee Break? It is made for 401k participants. So if you're eligible or you're participating in your 401k in any way, this is for you. This is to give you just some ideas and strategies on how to keep building your financial future. We know a lot of you don't have access to a financial professional, and so hopefully this will help you just kind of start thinking about things that maybe you didn't know about. It's short and sweet, 15 minutes max. The whole idea is you should be able to drink your cup of coffee, and at the end of your cup, we're done. So short and sweet and to the point. And today we're just covering highlights. So if you ever want to get into something a little bit more detailed on your personal side, there is a link at the end that I will direct you to how to set up a no obligation complimentary meeting with us. All right, and so who is us? So we're One Vision Retirement. I am Lisa Sakai, as you see there. I've been in the industry almost 13 years. I need to change that. I work a lot with female professionals. I specialize in working with child-free women who are working hard and want to have financial independence or retire earlier than age 59 and a half. So that's who I work with a lot. Chris has been in the industry probably, I'm guessing, 23 years. I need to update this slide, obviously. And he works a lot with employers to help implement these kind of plans in place, like your profit sharing, your 401k, your all that stuff. He helps them put that stuff in place. So he's a great resource to help you figure out how your benefits can benefit you in the best way possible. All right, so let's get started with our 5 things. Number 1 is sitting in cash. Now, a lot of people just assume, which we know makes an asset of you and me, right? Assuming that that your stuff's just fine. Contributions are going in, they're going into the fund that you chose. Everything is just working hunky-dory. I have seen in the last year some issues coming up where people's contributions are going into cash. They have moved custodians. So they moved from, I'm just choosing names, this is not who is associated with it, from Empower to Fidelity, and their money got transferred into cash rather than a fund. So you want to make sure that you're looking at how is your stuff invested? Is it sitting in cash? Is it getting invested? Nobody's taking a look at this stuff. This is your personal account. So it's not like somebody's getting in there and looking at it and going to call you necessarily on it. And so you want to make sure that your stuff is getting invested if that's the strategy you're choosing. If you're choosing for it to go into cash, I could have a whole other discussion with you about why that might not be the best way to do it. But just for this sake, just make sure that your stuff is actually getting invested, because it's technology. Technology makes mistakes, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong with technology. So you need to be the human element in making sure that everything is working the way it's supposed to. All right, so point number 2 is actually going into your contributions. Contributions are another kind of set and forget. People put their contribution in up to the match, max, whatever you put in there, and we just kind of forget that it ever happened. And again, technology can make mistakes. So let's say you checked off maxing out my contributions. I've had many people I've talked to this year who, last year, 2022, what you can contribute to your 401k under the age of 50 was 20,500. This year for 2023, it jumped up to 22,500, and yet their contributions didn't change. So there's a whole $2,000 that they can contribute that isn't getting pulled out. And now at the last minute, they're having to, take a little less income home to make sure that they are maxing out their 401k, because that's what they want and that's what works for their strategy. That's not so fun around the holidays when you're expecting that extra $2,000. So you want to make sure that your contributions are where you want them to be. So making sure that you're taking a look, making sure that contributions are going into the 401k, all that stuff, just be the eyes and ears for your 401k. Because if you don't care, nobody else is going to care about it, because it's your plan, right? Okay. Point number 3 is investment choices. Now, a lot of people don't realize that actually the custodians can put new investment choices in there. You might have gotten notices saying, you had this mutual fund and it's being replaced by this mutual fund. And most of the time that goes in the bin because it's written in language nobody can understand. But essentially, those kind of changes happen a lot in your 401k, a lot more than people think. And so what choices are in there that you might want to take advantage of, right? So let's say you've been waiting for an emerging markets fund to come into play, and now there's one there, but you don't know about it because you won't go into your 401k and look. So once a quarter, just take a look at what the investment choices are. You might be surprised that there might be some changes in there. And here's another really big reason to take a look at your investment choices is the expense ratios. Now, we've talked about this in last videos, but I want to go through this again because this is important. 401ks have fees. They do. And one of the fees that you can really control is your expense ratio. Now, the expense ratio is the expense attached to the mutual fund that you're in. So if you're in mutual fund A, it's going to have one expense ratio. If you're in mutual fund B, it's going to have a different one. Okay, and so you want to take a look at what those expense ratios are, because I've seen them as low as 0.02%, and I've seen them as high as 2% and over. And if you're paying 2% and over, I want you to know about it. That doesn't mean sell out of that. That's a horrible fund. Don't get involved with that. It's just that you need to be aware of the fees that you're paying and make sure you're okay and they work with your strategy, right? And so by looking at the investments and looking at the expense ratios, let's take that emerging market fund again. Let's say you're in an emerging market fund and it's doing just fine, but the custodian adds in a different emerging market fund that is lower in cost and has performed better and is virtually the same thing as the one you're in. Why wouldn't you make that change, right? Maybe you're saving 0.25%. That's a lot. So you want to make sure that you're taking a look at both the expense ratios and the investments and making sure that you're having the right mix for what you're trying to accomplish. And lastly, the Roth option. Now, I would say most people maybe a year or two ago didn't even realize that there was options as a Roth option in their 401k. More and more people are getting aware of it. Do you have a Roth option? It just depends on your plan, so make sure you ask around. But a lot of them are starting to have a Roth bucket in your 401k. And do you take advantage of this? Maybe this is something that you should be looking at as a strategy for yourself to balance out taxes in the future. Should everybody contribute to the Roth 401k part of it? No, I don't know. It's dependent on what you're trying to accomplish, when you want to retire, what kind of income streams you're going to have in retirement, lots of different things. So you want to be cautious when you're choosing to do this, because if you're right on the brink of going into another tax level or tax percentile, I should put it that way, you want to make sure that you understand that, and that if you tip into the next in the upper bracket, that you know that that's coming. It's not a big surprise for you, because remember, what going into the Roth portion is not deductible. It's not coming out of your income like the traditional 401k is. So you just want to make sure that you understand that you have the option and that you've made an educated decision to contribute or not to contribute to it. You don't want to just make a decision essentially because you just haven't even thought about it or just kind of pushed that paper to the side and didn't even read about it. So make a decision and put together a strategy. If you have the Roth option in your 401k, does that make sense to put into place for you? So in summary, you want to be an active player in your 401k. Quarterly, go in there. I said a half an hour, probably 15 minutes, you could spend in there. 15 minutes, you add that up for the year, that's an hour of your whole year that you've spent actually looking at what for most people is the core of their investments for their retirement, for their life, for their future, right? So you can spend an hour a year doing that. And the majority of your savings is going to your 401k. You want to make sure it's working for you, right? You don't want to be sitting in cash, like we said for point one. And running a plan can be beneficial when you're making these changes in 401ks. So sometimes they have a little planning software in the tools. I know Fidelity does. I'm sure a lot of the other ones do as well. That might work. That might not work for you. Please reach out to us if we can help put together a plan for you and see, what changes you should be making in your 401k for your overall plan, not just, just looking at the 401k. There are past videos of coffee breaks on various different subjects. So go to our YouTube channel at onevisionretirement.com. And if you would like to set up a no obligation call with us, we would love to get to know you. What you will get out of a call like that with us is just some strategies that you can either take and implement yourself, or we can set up some more time to discuss if we think that it's a good fit to work with us, and we can be that accountability partner and get you through all the different things that are going on to make sure that you're accomplishing what you want, which is ultimately for everybody financial independence. You can schedule the call by using the QR code with your little camera app and schedule it right from there. You can email us, good old-fashioned email. You can go to our website, onevisionretire.com, and there's a link there to set up a time. You can also get lots of more information, blogs, videos, things like that on there. And LinkedIn, I'm pretty active. So if you are active on LinkedIn and want to start seeing some of the stuff that we're posting out there, just connect with me. I'm happy to connect. So with that in mind, I hope that you found this helpful, that you are going to take the next 15 minutes, maybe grab another cup of coffee and take a look at your 401k. Make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do for you. Until next time, take care.